Done? Okay, today's class again is sponsored by 5 people. Avram Maradian, Rabbi Yaakov Ganjian, Jay Kaplan, Moshe Mataban, Shmuel Ben Chaviv. Shkoyach. Okay, for the welfare, what's going on in Israel. Okay, look at the, Torah Or, Bereshis, page 12, 5 lines, top of the page. Okay, now the Rabbi is explaining something called a long bracha and a short bracha. He says, what's the difference? One begins and ends chaysim with the bracha, and the short bracha doesn't. So he asked the question, what does it mean, the sealing, finishing, Messiah? What does it say chaysim? So he explains, there's a long hamshacha and a short hamshacha. The long hamshacha is the way it comes all the way down here. And the short bracha is the way it stays in Almedis Kasya. So the short bracha is the hidden worlds that don't come all the way down here. The long bracha is the level of Elokus that comes here. But what's the level of Chaysim? Because the problem is when Kedusha comes all the way down, evil can get its sustenance and nourishment from it. So it seals it as if it can't go into evil, it stays within Kedusha itself. That's what we're up to now. Avo matbeya aruch. Page 12, 5 lines in the top. Avo matbeya aruch, reim is lamed is galya. The long bracha represents Almed, the revealed worlds, which is Bechinas Gilui is Savis, which is the beginning of creation, the Prati Pratim, into all the various details. With a lot of divisions, tremendously great divisions and limitations. Therefore, the longer bracha says with a longer, usually a long bracha is longer, but not necessarily. Again, you have long and short. But many words, which are said and repeated. Okay, so he says, this guy in the revealed worlds. Because, like he said before, the revealed world is the way it comes from Eden, the river comes, and then it becomes separation into 4, Pirud. So then, what Kedusha comes into the realm of evil, then evil could get it. It could take it. Therefore, you need to separate them. It shouldn't live from the primary level of Kedusha. It should only be passing through from the sediment and from the junk. Therefore, it has to be chaysim b'baruch. It has to end with baruch to seal it. Meaning like this: when Kedusha comes down, okay, bottom line is, everything in the world has to exist from Hashem. Okay? The lowest level of evil is existence is from Hashem. Without Hashem, there's no world. There's nothing. The only difference is, what type of nourishment from Hashem is it getting? Is it getting a very limited revelation of Elokus? Or is it getting an internal pneumistic revelation of Elokus? So what we daven and what we want is that yes, it has to live from evil, from Kedusha, but it should be like throwing over the shoulder. I have to give it to you, but I don't want to look at you, so I throw it over the shoulder. But the problem is, when Yidden do Avedas, Chas v'Sholem, so then because we're doing evil, and we're connected to the internal levels of godliness, we are sustaining evil with a much deeper, more powerful level of godliness. Like we said, positive mitzvahs, the purpose of a positive mitzvah, we say shekitshanu b'mitzvah, is to bring holiness into the world through an action. Negative mitzvahs are not actions. So what's the inyan, the concept of a negative mitzvah? Negative mitzvah is, don't eat this, don't do this, don't think, say this, or do this. That's the negative mitzvah. Why? Because that thing that Hashem tells us not to do is klipa, it's evil. Now, if it's not fed, it will get weaker and weaker and weaker. If it's fed, is it going to get stronger? So when a person, God forbid, transgresses a negative commandment, they just fed evil to the extent now evil is very powerful. Now, in order to bring godliness in the world, you need two things. Number one, the act of bringing down godliness in the world. And secondly, make sure evil doesn't get in there. Because evil contradicts Kedusha. So if evil is powerful, then Kedusha gets weaker. If Jews don't sin, all the klipas, shol klipas tameis, have no nourishment. They get nourishment, they have to exist, but it's only the shoulder. It's only external.
But what if those people believe that what they're doing is Kodesh HaKodashim, that their war is the holy war?
That's what they think. Of course, evil justifies doing evil. That's why, what defines good or bad? Not humans.
The evil was created from the beginning, or because of what Adam did?
Evil was created at the beginning. There's even before the Eitz Hadas, Tov Ra, the tree of knowledge, good and bad. But they are separated. They are separate entities. Adam Rishon, through the sin, homogenized and mixed good and bad, that there is no good without bad, there's no bad without good. Now the problem is, evil on its own doesn't have power to exist, and it exists very weak and very limited. What strengthens evil is when we do evil. Now, people will say, okay, killing is a mitzvah. That's when you allow the definition of good and bad to be defined by humans. When humans are defining morals and ethics and all that stuff, good and bad, then it's open to interpretation. I say it's good, you say it's bad. No, so who's right? So therefore you can't have humans deciding what's right and what's wrong. You have God deciding what's right and what's wrong. And God says murder is bad. If somebody is killed by the courts, that's good, because that is the tshuva for the terrible sins they did. So there's a difference between murdering and killing. Beis Din doesn't murder people. Beis Din kills people as an atonement for the sin they did. Like the Rebbe once explained, when a person does evil that they get capital punishment, they forfeited their ability to continue functioning to accomplish and achieve in the world. Because they were warned right before the act and all that, and they still decided to do it. So that choice was a very, very bad choice, to the extent that that choice forfeited your ability to continue living, to be able to function. So Beis Din didn't murder anybody. Beis Din killed somebody. Murder is bad.
He said that the Goyim get their sustenance from Makif, level of Makif.
Correct.
And they don't have a cane.
They don't need a kelim.
They don't need it. So how could something that goes over the shoulder be Makif? Makif is Makif.
Because I'm not looking at you in an internal way that I want to have an open relationship with you. If I look at you, right, that means I want to have an open relationship. That's pnimis.
Yes.
The Alma Dizgalia.
Okay.
If I throw it over my shoulders, and we're back to back, so to speak, yes? So physically we're next to each other, but in reality we're the whole world away from each other.
But Makif is all over.
Yeah, but it's not sensed, it's not felt. The inyan achesim, so what is this level of a seal? Like the seal on a letter, that this letter should not be read by a foreigner. We don't want the guy to know what's in the letter, so we seal it. So it is the ending of the bracha, the seal of the bracha. That you were bringing down the kedusha after the long bracha. That this level of is galia, which is a revelation of godliness, should only be bechinas hakedusha levada. It should only be in kedusha, and the foreigner should not have it. And that's the difference. Okay, what's the difference between the opening of a bracha and the ending of a bracha? He said, "Psichas habrachas amshachas hagilu levad." When you open baruch, means it's revealing, bring it down. In other words, like this: the opening part of the bracha baruch is to reveal it down. The chasima is that it should only stay here. It shouldn't go anywhere else. It shouldn't go to klipa. It should stay. And like it says, where Abraham so be Av, like the pasuk says in Malachi, Hashem says, "I loved Yaakov as Esav Senesi, and I hate evil." But one second, there's an opening part of that pasuk which is remarkable. The pasuk in Malachi that he just quotes, he says, "Haloi och Esav liYaakov." Is Esav not the brother of Yaakov? And then the pasuk says, "Ves Yaakov ahavti ves Esav senesi." Yaakov I loved, and Esav I hated. So it's interesting. The pasuk begins that they're brothers. Yaakov and Esav, Esav liYaakov. Is Esav not Yaakov's brother? That means brothers by definition means equal. So the pasuk starts off by saying they're brothers, they're equal, and in the same pasuk it says I hate Esav and I love Yaakov. So what does that mean? So Chassidus explains very simply. There's a level in kedusha that good and bad are equal. Good and bad are equal. In Alma Diskasia, up there in the hidden worlds, before there's a definition of what good is and what bad is, good and bad are equal.
Where we go to uncourt.
Yeah, correct. You don't know the difference between Mordechai and Haman. But then when it comes into the revealed worlds, where it's clearly defined as good and bad, then Hashem says, I hate bad and I love good. But there's a level in Elokus where good and bad are equal. And that's why tshuva helps. How could tshuva make bad into good? Because tshuva reaches a level of godliness so deeply up there that good and bad are equal. So there's no good and there's no bad. So you transform the good into the bad. Remember we learned in the other Maimorim, on Olam Haba, you can't change anything. You can't do tshuva once the neshama pops out. You can't do tshuva. It is what it is. Because Olam Haba is a world of definition. It's a world of clarity. This world, you could do tshuva, because this world comes from Alma Diskasia, where good and bad are really the same. And therefore, you can make good into bad and bad into good, and it's no issue whatsoever. What?
Not even 1% of Yehudim know what they do, what they accomplish when they say brother. They don't know this. People say, what are we about? They don't know the seriousness of accomplishment.
You know what I like to do? I like to make fun of everybody. So let me ask you a question. How about those people that did learn about it? What do they do when they say a bracha?
At least, you understand that what you're accomplishing.
Okay, so we're worse. Those people don't know, so they make a bracha with sincerity what it is. We know, and we have to move but it doesn't. So who's worse?
Both.
Not both. No.
Neither one.
People that don't know what, like you remember we learned in Dechem, we don't learn Dechem Sechel, but in Shoshua Satfila, Tzemach Tzedek brings down the guy that says, I need mispala das atinik. I daven like a baby. I don't know chesed chochma gvura. I'm davening to God like a baby. A baby davens to Hashem. They don't know all this chochma, bina, spheres, bringing down alukus into the particular sphere. You know, they daven to Hashem. A simple Jew makes a bracha. That's good. They're saying a bracha to Hashem.
So a bracha that ends with another bracha is the last bracha maintains the bracha here.
It maintains the bracha, this revelation that the first part of the bracha brings down within kedusha.
So what about brachas that don't have an ending in bracha?
Because it comes to Mama discussion, a higher level that doesn't in turn, it's not revealed openly. So klipa can't nourish from that.
So it doesn't need the last bracha.
It doesn't need it.
Or it's not shaykh to have.
No, both. It doesn't need because it's not shaykh to have.
So it's not meant to stay here.
Correct. Or as he says, Yiv Chaladnas Nachloseinu. Shem should choose for us our inheritance. As Ga'en Yaakov Asher, the pride of Yaakov that he loves, L'chein Nikra B'Shem Chaisim. Therefore, when the Yerushalmi says about the long bracha, it says it begins with bracha and it seals. It doesn't say finish, it says seals. That nobody else should read it, meaning that the guards from foreigners reading the letter. Therefore, we finish the long brachas with the word baruch shiam shachem mechinas hamakiv, which is the bishmira momaila, to be guarding from above. The Greek saying Tilim, Hashem shemrecha, Hashem heals you. Lekach ha'chaisim shall close Yisrael. Therefore, the seal, what do we say by Ne'ilah? Not Chasveinu, but Chasveinu. Right? Shazech l'mayla al yaina. Lifnei havaya titaru. Therefore, like we learned, when is the highest part of Yom Kippur? Ne'ilah. Right? And we learned the fifth level, which represents the highest level of the neshama, is on Yom Kippur. Lifnei havaya, higher than Yud Kevavke. Right? So that's the chsima of Ne'ilah, that we reach a level of elokus, of lifnei havaya, that Hashem protects it, that level can't come to evil. It can only exist in Kedusha. And that's what the Rebbe is explaining. That's the definition of a long bracha. You bring down the Hamashach not only into Alma Diskasi in the hidden world, because over there nourishment can't get nourishment. Evil can't get nourishment from it. But in the long bracha, where you bring it down into Alma Disgalia, into the revealed world, over there evil needs to be, it needs to be protected, that evil shouldn't get this pneumistic revelation and chayis from Hashem, sustenance from Hashem. It should get external over the shoulder stuff. Okay, now the Alter Rebbe is going to explain Sheva Brachas. Because don't forget, this Maimon is in Parshas Bereshis. And he starts off to understand what's the meaning of Brachas, which seemingly doesn't have anything to do with Bereshis. So he says, now we can understand the first two Brachas of Nisuin, of Sheva Brach, by a wedding. Shem Yetzir Adam, what are that's not this, the Vashiyat Adam Betzalmik. Okay? We say like this: Baruch Hashem Aken Elam Shahakol Baruch Vedi. Baruch Hashem Aken Machem Yetzir Adam. Those are brachas only begin. The third bracha is of a wedding, or Sheva brachas. Baruch Hashem Aken Mashiyat Tzandem Betzalmei Betzalm Mustav Nisei VeHizkin Loy Mimenu Binyan Adei Baruch Hashem. So the third bracha of Sheva brachas is a long bracha, beginning and ending. It says, the first one doesn't start with a baruch, it starts with baruch, but doesn't end with it. The second one, okay? It starts and finishes. Now, the two brachas it's late, but the first, really, I don't know why he calls it first and second, it's really second and third, but second bracha is Yetzir Ha'adam. He formed Adam. What's the third bracha? Asher yotzad es adam b'tzalma. Again, that he formed the person. So what's the difference between Yetzer Adam, which is a short bracha, versus Asher yotzad es adam b'tzalma, that he formed the person in his image, which is a long bracha, because it begins and ends with baruch. So he says, well, you know, it's like, Kinei, the Gemara Amro, Shes, Beis, Yitzir, Salot. The Gemara in Ksubis, as he says here, the Gemara in Ksubis, goes through each Sheva Brachas, and the Gemara explains why we do the Sheva Brachas. You know, that order. So he says, Shebeis, Yitzir, Salolu, these two, Yetzer Adam, and the Sheyotzar, there's two Yitziras, Keneged Shtei Yitziras, Shahaya B'Adam Arishin. Okay? The first two formations of Adam Arishin. Tchila Nivra Adam Levadei B'du Partzufim. Like we know, the Medrash says, Adam and Chava are Siamese twins, created Siamese twins, and then he separated them. So there's one form, the way Adam and Chava are one. And then there's the second formation, the way he separated them.